What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It is Tuesday over at the DFS 5-Pack. Happy Groundhog Day for all of you guys who care about that. Hopefully we get spring or any warm weather here sooner than later, unless you live in a warm climate, and then I'm just insanely jealous of you.
Yeah, seriously. We don't need to hear from you if you're from that warm climate.
Yeah, just hashtag jealous. Sucks. Born in the upper Midwest. I've spent all my life here. This weather blows.
It was like 27 here this morning. I went out for a little bit this morning just to walk around outside, and the sun was out, and it actually felt kind of warm even at 27 just because the sun was out.
Yeah, that's how, for you guys who live in warm weather climates, again, it's my choice to live here, so it's not really on me, but I'm insanely jealous. I went running yesterday because it was 30 degrees outside, and I'm like, oh, it's nice out. That's not nice. 30 degrees is not nice.
No, it's not.
I'm still wearing gloves while I'm out there running and everything like that. So check out our boys over at Drafters, guys. Screen names are up here. Please, friend request me. Get on the website and play. We got a promo code to DFS 5-Pack. Had some fun yesterday. We did that Drafters show. It worked out funky because of the last game not playing out, and you would have been second place as opposed to me tying for first place. So I felt very fortunate to get into that one. Either way, guys, give them a look over at Drafters. A lot of fun to play. Yes, we play over there almost every day. I do multiple drafts a day. Friend request me so I can send out invites to you. We can play in some leagues together.
Let's get it.
All right, guys. It is 2 for Tuesday here at the 5-Pack. You know what that means, guys. First, hit that like button really, really hard. We would love to do members only free to the public tomorrow, but we need to get those 175 likes to make it advantageous for everybody. All you got to do is click the thumbs up button. But 2 for Tuesday means you buy a day pass today, only $5. You get Wednesday on the house. The website link is below. It is $5 for a day pass. You get the write-up, you get the video, and you also get Wednesday free of charge.
Yes, sir.
All right, subscribe to the station if you're new to it. We will continue to rock through the new format. This is a slate riddled with some sexy-ass plays on it, man. We talked about these guys throughout members only. I'm going to go into my boy Kawhi Leonard and why I like him so much today. But I'll be quite honest with you. There's a lot of studs in really, really good spots today. We're going to talk over 3 of them to get started, then work our way into some cheaper, more long shot plays. But what I like about Kawhi today, there's a lot of reasons. One, should be a good game. One of the better basketball NBA games of the year, in my opinion. We had the Bucks Lakers a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, whatever that was. I thought that was a really enjoyable game, even though my Bucks came up short. I enjoyed the Bucks playing the Nets. I thought that was a great game. We know who the better teams are in the NBA, and these are 2 of the better teams. We got Brooklyn as one of the front runners in the East. Clippers currently on top of the West, going to try to dethrone the Lakers this year. So that's a big part of what I like about Kawhi right now. Big game player in a big game. In a regular season game, I actually really, really think he cares about. Going up against a Nets team tonight that, quite frankly, we know they are not defense is not the top priority for the Nets. They are a great offensive team. They have quick possessions, which means a lot of extra possessions for the LA Clippers right here. I think Kawhi is way too cheap today at 9,200, quite frankly. This is a guy who's been darn near 10K in harder spots. Now he's in a crush spot at only 9,200. I love the forward eligibility. I think the most likely scenario for Kawhi Leonard is he plays today in a big game against Brooklyn and then sits tomorrow on the tail end of the back-to-back, which means he can leave it all out on the table today. I think they play this game to win it. I think their studs have heavy usage today, and I think Kawhi Leonard, as long as this game remains competitive, which I fully expect, is a borderline lock for 50 DK points today.
Yeah, a lot to like about Kawhi here. The only thing not to like is that my preference for tonight's slate is going to lie in the Portland-Washington game. We'll get there. But as far as just how good of a play Kawhi is on paper, a great play. Again, insert NBA player against Brooklyn here. You've got Kawhi, a star who's too cheap at 9,200. I completely understand why you're just locking him in your cash game lineups. And anyone who wants to play him in tournaments, do your thing.
There should be, we broke down these guys for a while today. There should be multiple, and again, nothing is for sure, right? I liked Giannis a lot yesterday. I can't help the fact that everybody else on this team hit every three-pointer, so he didn't have to do anything. But as we broke this slate down, we looked at a lot of studs, upper-tier price guys. My projections have multiple studs providing GPP value tonight, and Kawhi's one of them.
Agreed.
All right, next up. So you want to talk about your favorite game, Portland against Washington, which has a lot of reasons to like it. Most specifically, as long as this game remains competitive, which I think that is the most likely scenario, the Blazers' defense is trash.
Yeah, this game is, basically on paper what DFS dreams are made out of. We saw a similar spot for Washington against Brooklyn the other day. And Beal was not good in the first half, specifically in the first quarter. Didn't have a shot attempt at all. Well, he ended up walking out of that game with 50 DK points, came alive in the second half, specifically the fourth quarter. I love that for him going into tonight. He's expensive at 9,900, although he's a little bit cheaper than he had been. And while we like it if Westbrook is out, because that just means Beal has to do more stuff, that doesn't mean that Beal isn't a great play when Westbrook's in his own right. The usage on the Wizards is so condensed between Westbrook and Beal that I love both of them when they get in spots like this against the Blazers team that can keep up with the Wizards offensively, but won't be able to stop them on the defensive end. I like this entire game. I'm planting my flag here. Washington showed me big-time buying signs the other night against Brooklyn. And again, I think this game is very, very competitive. I think this has all the makings of a 140 to 139 type game. And I don't think Beal gets as much love as the Paul Georges, Kawhi Leonards, Russell Westbrooks of the world, because he's $1,000 more.
Here's a question for you. Not DFS, strictly NBA basketball. Has Bradley Beal gone from being one of the more underrated players in the NBA to one of the more overrated? And let me phrase this the right way, because I think Bradley Beal is awesome. Don't get me wrong. I think he is one of the best pure scorers in the NBA right now. But his quality play just really doesn't translate to winning basketball games. And I hear all these, prognosticators on ESPN these days saying if Beal goes to this team, they're going to be a champion. And again, I want to reiterate, I think Beal is awesome, but he doesn't translate to, the Wizards having been winning games. And this is not just this year. It's gone back a little while. I know nobody else is really LeBron James, but if LeBron James, as great as he is on a team, that team wins. And Beal's teams don't.
There aren't that many. He's not on that type of level as LeBron
who
James.
Is, right?
But he's not I don't think he's overrated like that. You're not wrong in what you're saying. But I think that's, you could say the same about Devin Booker and, who had never won anything now with Chris Paul. I think a lot can be said about who the Wizards have around him. And while you're right, a guy like the ultimate superstars, like Giannis, LeBron, those guys win in the regular season no matter what. Beal is not that guy, but he's on the next level of stars, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like he's all of a sudden become the most hyped guy in the NBA. If Beal goes to this team, they're all of a sudden going to win the championship. I like Bradley Beal a lot. And I do think he could legitimately be an argument as one of the top 5 scorers in the NBA. But I just, all of a sudden he's gone from what I thought to be one of the most underrated players in the game to all the mainstream media talking about him like he's going to change the life of teams that he goes to necessarily.
Okay, yeah, you're right about that. I will say this, kind of on that note, though, what about a guy like Luka, who obviously is a lot younger than Beal, talked to all these MVP aspirations, was the front runner coming into the year. Dallas sucks. So winning is easier said than done. And to your kind of original point, there are very few guys like LeBron that can just win no matter what.
Agreed. And that's why I've always kind of cracked up. If you look at a football perspective with quarterbacks, all of a sudden, Matt Stafford has one good year and they're oh, he's on the same level as Brady and Peyton Manning. Shut up. No, he's not.
No, he's good. He's not great like those other guys. He's an upgrade over top. He's good. One other guy I'll say like that, though, that can win in the regular season, which is why, and we're about to get to him, is Russell Westbrook. He hasn't been healthy, but he's a guy that can win like that in the regular season. Ultimately, he's a better – and, his peak is better than Beal's. I mean, that's a fact.
Yeah, I think he's become one of the more underrated players in the game because he hasn't won the chip. You know what I mean? But, who has? Kawhi and LeBron, so everybody else sucks?
Yeah, he is a level – again, maybe not right now because Westbrook's come down a little bit. Beal's gone up. But for the majority of their careers, Westbrook was on a level ahead of Beal, at least in terms of how, their star power.
Yeah, speaking of which, Russell Westbrook is our mutual favorite play on this slate. So there is a lot of really good studs in play today. But if I could only roster one, it would be Russell Westbrook. And there's a couple of reasons for it. He came to Washington this year, and I have him in all of my year-long leagues. I drafted him in. I thought we were going to see a lot of what we know Russell Westbrook is, the walking triple-double, everything like that. And he's just short of that, right? 21 points a game, 9.5 rebounds, 9.5 assists. But the points per game, he's been not assertive scoring. And we've talked about this one on members only for a while, which is both him and Harden seem to have made a concerted effort with their reputations of being ball hogs and everything like that to be very, very pass heavy early on with their new teams. Well, the gloves came off with Russell Westbrook the last 3 games. You've really seen him be significantly more assertive and aggressive on the offensive end. He's been looking for his shot more. He flat out took Kyrie to school all day on Sunday. I think he shot the ball 28 times, if I remember correctly. The mid-range looked pure. He was even making a couple of three-pointers. So he can take Damian Lillard to school because Damian Lillard, as great as he is offensively, is not a plus defender or anything like that. For us, it's the assertiveness that we've seen out of Russ. I think they keep it going. Coming off of a much, much, much needed win, they're in a great spot to go right back at it today. I think they get their second straight win right here, going up against the Blazers team that is not good defensively, that doesn't have any way to control Russ, who, again, I think one of my favorite points about Russ and why I think he's actually now underrated from the NBA perspective is people talk about, oh, he only wants stats. He only wants stats. Do you know what Russell Westbrook's record is in the games that they triple-double? I think he's won something like 75 or 80% of those games. So when he plays like that and when he gets his numbers, his teams win, which you can say what you want about him. I believe in my heart of hearts, and I would take this one to the grave. Russell Westbrook wants to win. And when he puts up numbers, his teams win, at least in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, I think all he wants to do is win. I 100% agree with that. For me, though, I'm going to give you an old Ryan point that he used to like to say to me a lot. I don't even care if they win this game. It means nothing to me. I just care that it's a competitive game for our purposes, which I expect it to be. If it is, Westbrook's going to go nuts here. I feel similarly about the guys in this game as you do about Paul George and Kawhi. We both like them all. Can only roster so many. I'm planting my flag on this game, and you damn sure better believe I'm using Westbrook here.
Yeah, he's a lock for me. It sounds like he's a lock for you. So for us in all formats, he's going to be a lock today. I really like what I saw from him the other day. I expect him to shoot more than we've, maybe not 28 times like last game, but shoot a lot more than we saw him doing earlier in the season.
There's very few guys like that, like when you knew he was just going to score at will, get to the hole at will. We've talked to this. He's like a mini Giannis in a lot of ways. And he showed that last time out.
Yeah, he was doing whatever he wanted in that spot. Yeah. And I think because they won that game, he doesn't need to look at himself in the mirror and be like, all right, maybe I shot too much. No, we won because I was assertive and aggressive. And I know you really think this game is going to be close. I will say this point. I would expect this game to be close, but if it's not, for me, it's because Washington rolls. And in that scenario, Westbrook at least hits his floor. In the spot where it's competitive, I think he gets to a higher portion of the ceiling. But even if this game isn't competitive, I think it's because Washington plays really, really well. And I still get the high floor Westbrook in that situation.
I get that.
So I think this is a good jumping off point for the Wizards, who should be competitive. They shouldn't be as bad as they've been all year. They've been dealing with COVID issues. Westbrook's been in another lineup. They're better than their record says.
A lot better. You had a guy like Russell Westbrook to their team, the Westbrook that we just saw. I mean, this team is a top 5 team in the East, in my opinion.
Well, that's a bold statement. There's some decent teams in the East. East is top heavy.
I just said it about Russ and how good he is in the regular season. Like, they're automatically above all the Clevelands of the world. If Russ is this Russ for the rest of the year, in my eyes.
Boston, Philly, Milwaukee, the Nets. So you would have them as the 5th team then?
I'd have them right above Indiana, yeah.
Oof, okay. All right.
Listen, I mean, a lot. You got to take, if Miami were fully healthy, maybe Miami looks like they're on a big hangover from last year, and they haven't been healthy at all. So I'm almost just counting them out.
Yeah, what has Butler played, 4 minutes all year?
Yeah, and I mean, even a game like last night, we've talked about these teams needing wins. At some point, Miami's got to win games. You lose a game that you're up double digits against Charlotte in the fourth quarter, that's a bad loss.
Yeah, Miami and Toronto are the 2 teams in the East and Washington, I expect to play better as the season progresses.
But I agree, but I think that with Washington, you can say, if Westbrook's healthy, they will play better. With the other 2 teams, I guess they need to get
Miami, same thing, though, yeah.
Specifically Miami. Toronto, who the hell knows?
Yeah. All right, guys, moving into long shots for the day. One of the few guys I'm looking at not in these games that we've mentioned already is going to be Kevon Looney of the Golden State Warriors. So first and foremost, this is a price play, right? He's super, super cheap at $3,400. And because I love some of the stars today, I mean, love some of the stars today, I'm going to need some cheap pieces at some positions that those stars don't take up. All the guys that we like from the Clippers and from the Portland, versus the Wizards game, these are all guards and forwards. None of them are going to be center. So if I can pay down at center, it's going to be advantageous to my build. So first and foremost, Wiseman, the second overall pick, he's out for a few games. Looks like he's out for 7 to 10 days, which means they could go a little heavier on Kevon Looney. There is no Marquise Chris. He's been out for a while now. He ain't coming back tonight. Draymond and Pascal are both listed as questionable, but the questionable is more like probable. If one of those dudes, gets downgraded to questionable or maybe doesn't play, that could only potentially be another bump up for Looney, only because then he has to play. Boston is not a team that's got like a monster dominant center where you necessarily need a big guy, but Thompson and Theis, these played decent minutes. So it is advantageous to have some size in there and not go with the quote unquote death lineup that they used to play back in the day with Draymond at the 5. So I do think we're going to see Looney for my best guess, 20 to 25 minutes tonight. He played 23 minutes last game, got you 23 DK points. If you look through his career, he's not a great NBA player by any stretch of the imagination. He's probably never a guy that's going to walk into 40 or 50 DK points, but because he's a guy with size and he gets his rebounds, he gets his putbacks, throws in the occasional block and steal, he's a guy that meanders into about a DK point per minute most nights, only because he's size and he gets his rebounds. Not a very sexy play, not a guy that's going to go off and win you tournaments most of the time, but I would expect to get 20 to 25 minutes from today, and I would expect him to get you about 20-ish DK points. Off of 3,400, that's not tournament-winning type of stuff, but if it allows me to get my Russell Westbrooks and my Kawhi Leonards, it makes me a lot happier because I need those pay-down options.
Yeah, honestly, Wiseman being out really helps him a lot because that extra 4 or 5 minutes he might get, it's huge for a guy that plays, somewhere between anywhere 13 to 22 minutes a game. So with Wiseman out, just solidifies that run. Doesn't need to do a lot to be productive here. And again, he's not a very good NBA player, but as a big man who's going to get run tonight, I could definitely see using him on this slate. Like on many slates, there's no way I'd want to waste a center position on him. But on this one, I could see it because none of the best plays on this slate are centers in my eyes.
And I kind of said that, but I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. I don't normally like ping down at center because usually we have it in Embiid or a Jokic or a Vucevic that's the lock. And if you like Vucevic today, do your thing. I think Vucevic is a fine play. However, we like some guards a lot tonight. We've already addressed a couple of them, but there's a few more that we didn't even get to that I think are wildly in play today. So paying down at center is not normally the bad risk that I often associate with paying down at the center position. Again, Looney is not the sexiest play in the world. It's not impossible to think he could roll into 30 if he got a bunch of rebounds, maybe a couple of putbacks. But I think the most likely scenario is you see 20 to 25 minutes from tonight and about 20 to 25 points, which is not a great GPP winning type of score. But if you told me he was getting 23 tonight, I'd probably just roster him everywhere because it would allow me to get the other plays I wanted.
Same.
All right, next up is your boy Wagner. So very similar to Looney on both the position and the price. Play them separately, play them together. And I think before I let you get into what you like about him, I think for me, Wagner is higher upside than Looney with a lower floor. And what I mean by that is he's in a better game overall for DFS. He's a young player who's coming off one of his better games as a pro. I think the lower floor just comes from they have other options there. And this guy was darn near out of the rotation the game before it was being passed up by Alex Len. But he played awesome the other day. So we both think the likely scenario is they give it to a guy that they've changed their opinion on him, but they want to like him.
Yeah, this is a great example. Looney's a guy that's guaranteed minutes, but we know that he doesn't do a ton with his minutes. So the 20 to 25 is probably his upside here. Wagner, has a chance to not play at all, could get a DNP CD. He's gotten that a few times, a bunch this year. However, coming off his best game of the year, a game like you mentioned with Westbrook, they won. A big reason they won was not only Westbrook and Beal getting hot, was Wagner's energy that he brought in. He had a couple big steals. He got to the rim at will.
He was throwing it down like Giannis a couple times.
Seriously. And the second bullet point, he seemed very motivated by the demotion. He's got skill. He's not a great NBA player because he's not a great athlete, but he's very skilled. He was really good in college. He's a guy that's got game. And again, against the Portland team, we're definitely not scared of picking on them with opposing big men. They got Enes Kanter as their best defensive center right now. That's all you really need to know. Mo Wagner, again, big-time risk, but big-time upside. He's got 8x upside in this spot, assuming he gets the run. I look at him a lot like I do. We talk about Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis is the better fantasy player. And, if those guys were the same price and playing the same minutes, I would take Bobby Portis. But similar in how they get there, and you just need the run.
So you talked about the no rim protection. I think that's one of the hardest thing sometimes when you're playing DFS is not to abandon a thought process you had the day before because it didn't work. I liked Giannis a lot yesterday. I talked about it repeatedly. He ended up being a major disappointment from a DFS perspective. So I watched almost that full game. It wasn't that Giannis wasn't able to do whatever he wanted. Is that the Bucks shot 3-pointers like they were like trying to save lives with them. At one point, and I think it was late in the second quarter, I want to say Bryn Forbes hit a 3-pointer and they go, okay, the Bucks 3-point percentage tonight is back up over 70%. When everybody's hitting their threes and it gets out of hand like that, those are games where Giannis doesn't need to get to the rim because Drew Holiday, DJ Augustine, Bryn Forbes, Bobby Portis were hitting 3-pointers just left and right. There was nothing they need to do. They still can't protect the rim in Portland. So it's not like that changed. It was just yesterday the 3-pointers were falling and they didn't need to go onto the inside.
Yeah, I mean, a great point there. It's just such a great spot for the Wizards. And, the more we talk about that, and when you just brought up that point, just to give like a glimpse into the members only, I do think this could be the game where Rui blows up, especially after that point you just mentioned. I think he's going to be able to get to the rim at will here.
Yeah, I played Rui I had one really good lineup on Sunday. And, when I checked scores closer to the end, it was like 8xing. And then that went down to like 5. But Rui was my disappointment on that team because I had Joe Harris and Durant and Westbrook, blah, blah, blah. There was a lot of really good plays in that game, but Rui was the letdown. And I only say that because I was watching Rui very carefully in that game. And he was hot garbage in the first half. Looked rusty, off. He was getting open 3-pointers and he was missing them by, not inches, more by feet. And then he played significantly better as the game progressed. Now, he was still poor from a DFS standpoint, but the Wizards missed a lot of time. And he just looked like a dude who hadn't played basketball in years as opposed to weeks. But as the game progressed, he looked more like himself.
The thing about Rui that gets me intrigued is at the end of the day, like he is their third best player. Like that's the guy that they're building around. We talked about that a lot last year. If they're going to be decent, they're going to need Rui to take that next step. I know a lot of guys said that he was, going to take big steps this year. We haven't really seen it. Like you mentioned, the Wizards missed games. But I mentioned like Wagner is a solid NBA player and has game. Well, he's got nothing on a guy like Rui, who is their first-round pick that they want to build around.
Well, I got to challenge you on something. That you say he's their third best player, but according to Drew Gooden, Ish Smith is clearly the best player.
Right.
And then after Westbrook and Beal, that's 3. So, I mean, I don't know how you get to the third one right there because I listened to Drew Gooden gush over Ish Smith the other day. He's clearly their best player.
Here's a question for you. Bertans or Rui? They do completely different things.
Yeah, I mean, that's what do you? I think they're pretty they're on par with each other right now. I think it depends on what do you need.
I think Rui's obviously got the guy that has higher upside. But if I'm like,
the Milwaukee Bucks, I'd rather have Bertans to spread.
No doubt. Like Bertans is one of these guys that could really change the championship's pendulum, in my opinion, because of his ability to make open threes.
Yeah, and he's been off most of the year. He had a couple on the other day, so he's got a big game coming. Not saying it's tonight, just one of these days he's going to get that mojo back that we saw him have last year where he was pulling up from 50 and knocking them down left and right.
Did you see he made that the three at that?
I saw it.
I thought after that he was going to get on fire. The thing I love about Bertans is he is not bashful at all. Like he will shoot.
When they say if you look up in the Webster's dictionary the definition of bashful, it's actually a picture of Bertans that says not this.
Yeah, exactly.
No conscience. He will just keep shooting.
No, that's exactly what I meant to say. No conscience. He just
keeps rolling.
Conscience. Yep.
He can sling it. I like the guys that shoot the deep threes. He's not quite Damian, logo Lillard, but I mean, he'll take them from 5, 6, 7 feet out and not even hesitate.
He's got such a quick release too. He does it different than Lillard. Lillard, does it off the dribble, the step back. Bertans is just the pure catch and shoot.
Yeah, when he gets rolling, sometimes I'm like, bro, settle down. All right, that was a catch and shoot from 8 feet beyond the arc. Like, that was not a good shot.
Right, for sure.
All right, guys, have a good day. Click that thumbs up button so we can get some free vids out. See you guys soon.
Thanks, guys.